Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Guides Network right here on your Lake Fork Guide. Got the Swimbait mad scientist in the house, the Smash Captain from Smash Tech Custom Baits, Mr. Heath Taylor. How you doing, Heath?
Doing well.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming on here to do this for us today. Hey guys, it's fall bass fishing season and swim baits become a big player. Fall is all about shad. These bass get really locked in on different types of shad, different sizes of shad throughout the fall season. And there's just not another bait that mimics a shad any better than a swim bait. Now, swim baits come in all sizes and varieties, just like our bait fish do. So I brought Heath Taylor in here. This guy knows more about variety of swim baits and how to use them and when to use them than anybody else I know. So he's going to talk to you guys today about swim bait selection and how to get the most out of the swim bait bite throughout the fall period.
Like Billy was saying, we're talking about fall swim baits selection, and we'll probably get into a little bit of the retrieves presentation too. First and foremost, the biggest difference, I like to throw swim baits in the spring, and you're going to be rigged very similarly than you will be in the fall. The biggest difference in fall swim bait and spring swim bait fishing, to me, is usually the amount of vegetation that you're going to have in your lakes. Springtime, you're starting out, the grass is just starting to grow. The shoreline vegetation is just starting to grow. So you're going to get away with a lot of maybe line throughs, stuff with treble hooks that you're not necessarily going to be able to get away with in some of the way that you're going to fish in the fall. So with that being said, the number one bait for me in the fall, as far as a search bait, is a hollow body swim bait. A lot of times I'll go with the 4.5 inch. A lot of people think that's a small bait, but the biggest bass I caught this year was in March, and it was a 10, just over 10 pounds, and was on a little 4.5 inch hollow body swim bait. So they catch big fish, get lots of numbers. Anywhere that you would think of throwing a spinner bait or a shallow run crankbait or a lipless bait, you can throw this small hollow body swim bait. Rig it on a 4/0 owner beast hook is how we normally rig it. Billy likes to run the 5/0 flashy swimmer on it a lot. I don't do that as much as I probably should because I know it catches fish, but both of those are a really good way to cover water, in which early fall, when you just get those first couple of cold fronts, the fish have not completely committed to their fall pattern, but you've got, like we were out fishing today, we had 2 or 3 bites here, 2 or 3 bites there. We never did find a big concentration of fish back in pockets or back in creeks. They were kind of at the mouths of pockets and secondary points. So we picked this up and got bit on it real quick, and due to the nature of just covering water, we kept throwing this hollow body swim bait. The greatest thing about it is it will come through anything. Billy made the comment he tried to pick up a chatterbait and throw it a couple times. And you can work a chatterbait through grass pretty well, but when you're reeling this thing through grass, you don't even really know that you're going through grass. It just comes through it so easily. But it still has the vibration and the feel of almost like a chatterbait when it's coming through the water. So this is my number one early fall bait, and it's also my number one bait for looking for active fish. Like I said, you can fish super, super shallow, and the bass will push really, really shallow this time of year. So you can fish fast, you can fish super shallow, you can fish around wood, grass, anything like that, throwing a weedless hollow body like this. Now, if I do get some fish located, a group of fish maybe back in a creek where I know that they're piled up around a lot of grass, and I've caught a couple on this, and I know that there's more fish around, that's when a lot of times I'll either step up to like a weedless poacher and throw it in there, or even something, a shad profile like the 5 inch or the 6 inch weedless gizzard shad. This one's a line through version, but we also make a weedless version. But if I can locate some fish like this, I'll start throwing some of these bigger baits just to try to get a bigger bite out of that same school. That seems to get better as the water temperature drops down. Right now we just had a couple cool fronts, and we're looking at mid to upper 70s. A lot of the water temperatures will, when it starts getting low 70s, upper 60s, and the shad really push back, and then you get some of your bigger gizzard shad coming off the main lake. That's when I like to step up to a bigger bait. Now, if you can get away with it and the grass isn't too thick, I'll still like to throw a line through, just because I like the way a line through acts. The hookup percentage is really, really good. But the majority of the time in the fall, because of the way the grass has grown on a lot of the lakes that we fish around here, you're going to go end up running a weedless version. So that's what I do. The cooler the water gets, the bigger I'll go. And I'll even go to like a big 7-inch jointed swim bait or like a glide bait as the water cools off. The reason I like in the springtime versus the fall, I will be a lot more apt to just pick up a 6 or even a 7-inch either weedless or a line through, and be able to be more patient and just slowly, because these bigger baits you want to reel them slowly. I'll have more patience in the springtime than I will in the fall, just because those fish in the fall are just roaming so much in the early fall and chasing bait. So you want to be able to move fast and cover water, which these are not that great for covering tons and tons of water, the line throughs, the big line throughs, because you want to reel them slow. So we'll go with something a lot smaller. As that water cools down, like I said, I'll still rely on that to find fish and to run, if I'm wanting to cover lots of water. But if you do find fish, do not be scared to bump up to the 6-inch hollow body, because you can still, that 6-inch hollow body, I like to run it on the A-dot angler beast hook, which is a 3/8 ounce weight. You can run that thing fairly quickly. As in the springtime, a lot of times when I'm retrieving them, I'll just fast enough to make that tail kick. Fall, I'll speed it up a notch and actually, get it moving pretty quick. A lot of the bites we had today, you could actually see the swirl with the fish hitting it, because we're fishing such shallow water, because they had pushed bait up in the top of that grass. As it gets colder, do not be scared, like I said, to go to bigger baits, bigger weedless baits, the 6-inch, the 7-inch gizzard shad, the big convict comes back into play, the weedless poacher comes into play. You want the grass or the cover to dictate what style of bait you're going to throw. Like I said earlier, the grass have grown all summer long. This is the thickest the grass is going to be the whole year usually, that the fish get up in. This summer a lot of the fish have been offshore, or you've been having to punch to catch these fish. Well, those same fish that were in the grass and you were having to punch to have moved up on top of the grass or in holes behind the grass, and they're chasing shad, or they're out there on the edges. So later in the year, the bigger shad start moving from offshore and coming in. Don't be scared to step up to a bigger shad presenting bait. This time of year, it's all about shad. You want to mimic shad with either a hollow body or something that actually looks exactly like a shad. We're going to talk a little bit about what you throw, the gear that you would throw these different swim baits on. This 4.5-inch hollow body, you really don't have to have anything swim bait specific, anything just specialized. I like to throw it depending on how thick the cover is. You can get away with a medium heavy. A lot of times I'll throw it on a heavy action 7.3, 7.6 rod, just because I want a little more backbone. As long as it's got a fast tip, that's fine. 6.3 to 1 ratio. I want it to not be too fast that you're having to slow yourself down, but I want it to be fast enough that when they hit it, they will come towards you, or they'll come up and jump. Like we had a couple today that come up and jumped right when I set the hook, and I ended up losing them. You want to be able to have enough speed to catch up with them. So I will usually run 16-pound fluorocarbon on this, unless I'm fishing in pad stems. Then I'll move to like a 40 or 50-pound braid. But 99% of the time, I'm going to throw around a 16-pound fluorocarbon on the 4.5-inch hollow body. Now, if I bump up to the 6-inch hollow body, a lot of times I'll throw 20-pound fluorocarbon, and I'll actually throw it on a bigger, 7.9 swim bait rod and a Lew's Super Duty reel. They make the best swim bait specific casting reels on the market. Every one of my swim bait rods has a loose Super Duty on it. They just hold tons of line when you're throwing 20 or 25 pound line, and you can cast it a mile when you're just lobbing big swim baits. All of these bigger swim baits, I'm running them on 7'9" to 8 foot swim bait rods. And usually when I'm throwing the bigger line throughs or the bigger weedless baits, I'll go with 20 pound fluorocarbon line. Early fall, like we were fishing today, you're going to see, which was typical. What we found was very typical for our early fall, to where we'd find, we'd get 1 or 2 bites on a secondary point leading into a pocket, and we'd find some, already in the pocket. But you'll find, get 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there. As fall progresses, it's not going to be unusual to go back to some of those same places, and instead of getting 1 or 2 bites, there's been time I can remember, there being 1 stick up or 1 clump of grass in the back of a pocket in later fall, to where you might make 12 casts in a row and get bit 10 times on 1 little clump of grass or one lay down, 1 stick up. That's because they're back there pushing those shad back there. So this is a great time to be able to find concentrations of fish. The fish are coming to the creeks. They're not going out and roaming and suspending like they do sometimes in the summertime and sometimes in the wintertime. They're very, very accessible. A lot of people like to fish springtime because the fish are accessible and up shallow. Well, fall is really historically one of my favorite times to fish because, one, the fish are accessible again. You can catch them on moving baits, catch them on swim baits, and also the lakes generally aren't as crowded. A lot of people are hunting. A lot of people are got football games with their kids and different things on the weekends. So it leaves a little more room out there on the lake, and the fish are biting just as good or better than they do sometimes in the spring.
Well, Heath, man, that's great. I know it's a hard topic to cover, the fall fishing period, and we just did it on 1 bait. And there's so many baits that can work in the fall. But like I said earlier, there's nothing that mimics a shad any better than a swim bait in the world of bass fishing.
To me, now, there's the big thing about swim baits that I've always thought about swim baits is they give off very, very few negative cues to a fish. There's no rattles, there's no rattling noises, there's no knocking noises. It's just vibration, vibration, and there's no flash from blades unless you're throwing the flashy swimmer like you do sometimes. But it's a natural profile and a very natural presentation, and it's matching what they're trying to eat. Yep. They're trying to feed up on shad before the winter hits. They
absolutely, more so in fall than any other time of year, get keyed in specifically on shad. Something about in the fall, the bass get very specific about what they're eating. We see it out at Lake Fork, those shallow fish that push back in creeks, they're eating nothing but shad. Those offshore fish that are offshore, they get really specific sometimes on eating crappie or yellow bass, right? The smaller younglings of the crappie and yellow bass. And either way, if you're not mimicking exactly what they're eating in the fall, you can miss the boat because they get so locked in on particular bait fish. And that's why swim baits are so effective, because they mimic a shad so well. Like you said, no negative cues. Really do a good job of that. And it's a hard topic to cover because there's so many different swim baits depending on what cover you're going to be in. Those faster, tighter wiggling hollow bellies at the beginning of the year. Maybe we go down to a poacher or even throw a big convict later in the year. As the water cools down, everything in the water column slows down. The bait that shows up gets bigger. Hey, that's when you go to those bigger, slower swimming baits. It's just a lot of different variables that go on, and you did just a great job of talking us through that. Hey, guys, hope y'all enjoyed this, man. Hope y'all can take something from it. I know every time I get in the boat with this guy, he's got more swim baits tied on than anybody else I've ever seen, and he always seems to catch them on swim baits no matter what the conditions are. So he's got an immense amount of knowledge on how to get bass to bite a swim bait.
I try. That's the way I like to fish. It's gotten to the point where if I go and I don't catch them on swim baits, it's almost not fun to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. I grew up fishing other ways, and I tournament fished for a while, and now I really don't have the desire to tournament fish. I'll probably if my son wants to do it later, or if you call me and said, hey, I want to go jackpot a tournament,
right.
I'd probably go do it. But
you're still gonna throw swim bait.
I still try to catch them on swim bait
for sure. And I know that for a fact because earlier this year we went punching, and the grass had matted up super thick and was kind of creating a hard edge, a hard wall. And there wasn't really that scattered vegetation you want for swim baits. And I was catching them punching, and you were like severely disappointed that you had to punch to get bites.
Yeah, it hurt my feelings.
I remember that. That was pretty.
Another little
I
thing.
mean, we're whacking him, and he's mad.
Yeah, it was another thing. This time of year, they will get dirt shallow.
Yes.
And that little hollow body rigged weedless is a great way to get
You
to
can get
them.
up there and get through
Like I
all
said,
that
you know,
time.
if you're not the guy that wants to go up there and throw a weightless fluke or something and work it slow like that, you can get up there in a pocket in dirt shallow water and fan cast a hollow body weedless through all that stuff, and you'll see, you know, they'll come up and blow up on it like it's a topwater when you reel it fast over the top of that grass. It's pretty fun.
Absolutely. It is a lot of fun. Yes, you do see a lot of strikes. They're so shallow this time of year, so it's so much fun. So, hey, man, it's a great time of year, like he said. Less boats on the water. The bass are up shallow and very accessible. And they're not even thinking about spawning this time of year.
Yeah, they got one thing on their mind.
They're there for one reason, and that's to eat stuff. So let's go give them options to eat. Go get you some Smash Tech custom bait swim baits. You can find them linked in our description in every video we make, just like this one. Go over there, click it, check out this awesome selection of swim baits. Purchase them up. You can also find them at tacklewarehouse.com.
Yep.
And locally in the Lake Fork area at Lake Fork Marina.
Lake Fork Marina's a great place. They have a good selection. Tackle Warehouse carries just about everything I make. There's a couple things they haven't got in yet.
And we got some new stuff coming.
Got some new stuff coming.
Some top secret stuff we're not going to talk about just yet, but we got some new, really high-end swim baits that are going to be coming out hopefully here in the next 6 months.
I'm hoping to get it going by this winter. They're kind of in the R&D stages right now.
So stay tuned. But wait, there's more. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Guys Network. Like we said, hope it helped you learn something. And more importantly, man, we just sincerely, from the bottom of our heart, appreciate all of you that watch, because without every one of y'all, there's no way that me and this guy get to do the things that we're passionate about for a living. So thank y'all very much, and we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.